Okay, so solve means that I'm looking for that intersection point. In the equation y equals mx plus b, what does the m stand for? That is the slope. And how about that y-intercept? Oh, sorry, I gave it away. That's dumb. My apology. That's the y-intercept. Okay, your b value. How do I use that on the first one, y equals x minus 4? How do I use that to graph y equals x minus 4? What's the y-intercept? -4, okay. So, zoom in as far as you need to find -4. Put yourself a dot right there. What was the slope of that line, y equals x minus 4? What's the slope of this line? It's the number right in front of the x, folks. It is a 1, thank you very much. Now, for those of you who don't know, we can write that 1 over 1. Now, there's a reason I wrote it as a fraction. What does the top number mean? That is the rise, okay? And in this case, since it's positive, we will go up 1 unit. What does the bottom number mean? That's the run, okay? And in this case, since it's positive, we will go right. So many of you would say things to me like up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, or up 1 to the right 1. And so if you're doing this digitally, you'll... Now, how many points do I really need? What did we learn in geometry class? How many points do I need to graph a line? 2. Obviously I did overkill, right? I did more than I needed to. There's my line. Okay. Any questions on how we did that? I'll switch to a different color for the other ones. Y equals negative x and negative x plus 2. Negative x plus 2. Alright, so where's my y-intercept? Positive 2. So I'm going to go up to positive 2. Okay. And my slope, what's my slope? Down 1 to the right 1. So we got down and right. What's in common to both of this and this? What's in common? What's in common to those two things that I circled? The direction on the denominator, right? I want you to focus, yes, up or down, and then move to the right for your second point. Could you go the other direction? Could you eventually go to the left? Sure I could, right? If this is up 1 and over 1, I could go down 1 and back 1. But if you need a strategy to help you get the first few points, then use the up and down and move to the right to find your next point. And then after you got a couple points, if you want to go the other direction, you can. But if you need a strategy, do that. Okay. So let's see here. My next one was, okay, we said up 2, and we said down 1, 1 to the right. Okay, we should say a little bit more, so let's see. Down 1 to the right. Okay, so where do they cross? This. I got you saying, Mr. Martin, I think you're saying no for both of those. Is it either one of those? No? Okay. What is it? 3, -1. I got to vote for 3, -1. Do you agree or disagree? You should agree with that, right? 3 to the right and 1 down. That is the coordinate that we call the solution. So when it says the solution is 3, -1. Now, those of you who think Now, did I write more up there than I needed to? Yeah, I do agree with that. However, in the near future, we're going to talk about substitution, which you guys are going to be really good at. And then we're going to get to elimination, which is a little bit more difficult, but not too bad. Some of you are going to be pretty good at that. Some of you like to do things in your head. Fantastic. You're not going to get full credit. If I've asked you to graph it, then you need to graph the lines and then tell me where they cross. If you're not going to, let's say you just wrote down 3 negative 1s because you did it in your mind. Okay, great. Okay, out of 4 points, I'll give you 1. And then you'll try to argue with, oh, but I got the right answer. I don't care. Okay, if it says graph it, you need to graph it. Show me that you can do the graphing. All right, now, I'm going to go throw this on the copy machine while you work on question 2, and I'll be right back with printed copies for those of you who want printed copies. Methods on question 3. Rulers, yes. So, your positive 2 and your negative 2 slope would have looked like that. Any questions about this one before we move on to the next one? I hope so. Now, do me a favor. When you borrow things from me, be kind enough to return them. This is not returning it. Okay? That right there, and you walk out of the room like that, that's not returning it. Okay? I don't know who taught people how to do that, but that's not returning it. So, hopefully you're better than other people in the past. And you can return them. Okay. Any questions about this one? Okay, let's look at question 3. What? I tried to save paper. Okay, I'm going to show you 2 different methods on question 3. You get to pick which one you like. I don't care which one you like, but you're going to use one of these 2 methods. Okay? So the first one that I'm going to do is involving the idea of finding X and Y intercepts. Okay, now in order to find X and Y intercepts, I'm going to make a very brief chart. Very brief. I'm going to plug a 0 in for X, and if I plug a 0 in for X, I'm going to find the Y intercept. And if I plug a 0 in for Y, I'm going to find the X-intercept. If you plug a 0 in for X into this, 3 times X is how much? 0. Sometimes people actually cover this up, and they call it the cover-up method. I know that's kind of a really generic, simple name. What would you get in order to solve this? 6Y equals negative 24. Negative what? That'd be negative 4, right? You just found the Y-intercept. Okay? Well, what if I want to find the Y, or the X-intercept? If I plug in a 0 for Y right here, 6 times 0 gives me, of course that's gone right now, right? So what am I left with for X here? Negative 8. So if I come over here on my graph and find those 2 places, 0, negative 4, and negative 8, 0, remember you said from geometry class I only need 2 points to draw a line. Alright, let's try the other. Try the other one here. We're going to make a little chart. X, Y, plug in a 0 for X. Well, if you plug in a 0 for X, what does that leave you with for Y? It's pretty obvious it's negative 3, right? Okay. Likewise, if I plug in a 0 for Y and that takes out this one, then I would have an X value of negative 3. Okay. So that would be. Those would be the 2 points that I would need. 0, negative 3, Does it look like I'm an excellent drawer? Have I drawn that really well? No, probably not. Okay? It almost looks like the intersection points are fractional values. Folks, we are not going to be that cruel. It was supposed to cross right there. Now, those of you with the straight edge, you're probably going to be better than me. Right? Because, and that's why you like using that straight edge, is because you want to be more accurate. So what should the answer be? 2 negative what? 2 negative 5. Okay? Now, some of you don't like that method. You don't want to use that method. Okay? Are you searching for an alternate method? Okay. So, some of you are going to do this. Some of you are going to solve these for y. If I got to solve that for y, tell me what I'm going to do with the 3x. I'm going to subtract it. So I've got 6y equals negative 3x minus 24. Now what? You're going to divide by 6. You're going to divide by 6. You're going to divide by 6. And you're going to come up with y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4. Because you like to put it in slope-intercept form. Some of you are going to do this. I'm okay with that. What if I want to solve this one for y? What do I got to do with the x? Subtract it. So I get y equals negative x minus 3. Well, that's nice because it's already solved for y. I don't even have to do any division. So if you like to do this and then go back to what we talked about with the y-intercept and the slope, you know, okay, it's got a y-intercept at negative 4 and it's got a slope of negative 1/2 down 1/2. Likewise, continuing on, you could do the same for a while, down 1/2, down 1/2. You can see my red line kind of got off because I was a little bit sloppy. The other one had a y-intercept of negative 3 and had a slope of negative 1, so it was down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1. That kind of idea. So I don't care whether you use X and Y intercepts or if you want to use changing things to the point slope or the slope intercept form because you think it's easier to do it that way. It doesn't matter to me. Pick your favorite way. Okay, 4 should be extremely easy for you. Unless you don't remember how to graph these type of equations. Maybe I should not say it's easy. I'm wrong. You guys know what kind of line that is? X equals negative 8. Guess what? They're all straight. Horizontal line? He says this one's a horizontal line. Let me see if I agree with that. Okay, so let's see. If all the x values are negative 8, let's see. Negative 8, 0. Negative 8, 1. Oh, sorry. Negative 8, 2. Negative 8, 3. Okay, let's find those on my graph. Negative 8, 0. Negative 8, 1. Negative 8, 2. Negative 8, 3. Does this look like a horizontal line? Okay, vertical. Okay. You guys know what the slope of that line is? The slope is not 0, nice try. It is not 1, nice try, because 1 would mean up 1/1, up 1/1, and that's not what we got here. I got to vote for it does not have 1. Okay, undefined, if you remember that term, that's the same thing as no slope. So when I was growing up, this is what my math teacher taught me. Vertical line, capital N, no slope. Okay? How about the other one? Y equals 2. y equals 2. Now what kind of line is y equals 2? Horizontal. Let's see if we agree with that. If the y values are 2, so like 0, 2, and 1, 2, and 2, 2, and 3, 2. Yep, that's right. That's a horizontal line. Yep. And do you know what the slope of that line is? 0. Do you know there's a difference between undefined or no slope and zero slope? Okay. So, you know what cross-country skiing is? Cross-country skiing. Now, let's take sniper fire out of the question. Chances of death, cross-country skiing. Cross-country skiing, where you push yourself. Chances of death. Very low, right? Okay, how about this? Quadruple Black Diamond Hill, I accidentally go the wrong way on the mountain. Suddenly, I go off a cliff. Okay, chance of death. Very high, right? That's a totally different story, right? Flat ground, 0 slope. This way, when I'm falling to my death, no slope underneath my feet. There's a huge difference between those two. Several of you said 0 when I drew a vertical line. Big difference between those. Okay, so remember that. The difference between the slopes. Now, answer their question. You guys remember the question? Solve the system. Solve the system. Does anybody know the solution? Isn't it right there? What is it? Negative 8.2. Are you kidding me? They gave me the x and the y values of the answer? Yeah, they did. Okay, yeah, you'll have to graph it, but yes, that will be your answer to the question. Okay, now pick your favorite method for graphing this one. Pick your favorite method, whether you like the X and Y intercepts. I'm going to tell you the X and Y intercepts might look a little ugly. I see a 1.5 coming in the future. If you don't want to deal with a 1.5 for an X or a Y intercept, you might want to switch to solving for Y. So, solve these equations for Y. Okay, in a few minutes I'm coming around to check your notes. Right, because you get a grade every day on your notes. So, solve these for Y. Because I bet you unless you like the Y intercepts and Y and X intercept chart, you want to do that. But solve for Y. Give me the last few minutes here. Things digitally, make sure you're saving. Save those notes as you go. Solve for Y. That'll probably be my easiest way to recommend them. Solve for Y. Solve for Y. Okay, so we're going to give it a text first. You got positive that first. that's what I'm expecting if you're going to be doing this method. If you're going to do the XY chart, then you could make the